We have some interesting stuff to talk about. So let's get started. As you see, I put the market watch on the screen. Lots of new listings, tons of price decreases. But if you look at the solds and pendings and you compare it to the new listings and back on market, it's pretty much even inventory wise. But tons of very few price increases and tons of price decreases. So that's where we're at right now. That market is kind of just sitting there. It's kind of pretty even. But that's a lot of activity in the last week, which is a good thing. Bigger numbers than we normally see, but that is the biggest price decrease number I've ever seen. However, we're still selling and we're still pending. And so that's good. Things are selling, things are pending. And you guys know people are still asking too much for their properties. I've had a lot of people talk to me about, what do you think this house is worth? They want this much for it. Just doesn't seem reasonable. And you're right. Typically that's that. But part of your job is I would love for you to go in and give them all the stats and stuff that they need to price their house reasonably, obviously, so you don't waste your time and resources. But some of them just won't listen, as you know, and some of them need to have a plan. A lot of you guys now have plans when you go in and you say, after 3 weeks, we're going to do this, and after 6 weeks, we'll do that, or whatever those plans are. So that's what they're seeing, or they're seeing just a lack of response, lack of offers, etc. So let's just start with the market watch. I didn't even plan to do that, but I saw these numbers this morning and it kind of caught my eye. So I thought I would share that with you. It's not bad news. I think activity is picking up. Give me some head nods out there if you're seeing any activity pick up. You guys see any? I'm getting some round. All right. Well, I'm seeing activity pick up. We're seeing it in our numbers here. So it is, maybe 10%, but it's picking back up. So that's good. All right, guys, let us go on to Paperless Pipeline. So this is our screen in Paperless Pipeline. I'm going to go back to, okay, let me go back to my home screen. So this is what you see when you log in, different ones for different people. We have got to talk, though, guys, about getting your paperwork in. We do not have 14 transactions closing in the next 7 days. You guys aren't putting in your expected closing dates, and you're not putting in your transactions until it gets to be the last minute when you want to get paid. A lot of you have, per your contract with us, you have 3 days to turn in your documents. 3 days from when they happen to turn in your documents. We should have these. We get calls on things, on properties, and I shouldn't have to go on to MLS to see whose listing it is. I should be able to find it in Paperless Pipeline, right? Because you guys should have your documents in. So we would get calls. Somebody says, "Oh, I saw a listing you have, 142 Oak Street." I should be able to look up Oak Street in here and find you guys. So get your documents in within 3 days. That is your agreement with us that you'll do that. Also, we get audited, and we need to have current listings. Anything that shows on MLS definitely needs to be in here. Okay, so please do a better job of that. Now let's talk about, we're going to go from the beginning here real quickly. Adding a transaction. Add a transaction. I want to talk to you guys about checklists, because we're having a lot of the wrong checklists and stuff come down. The location is FRI unless you're on a particular team or group. Transaction name or property address, 123 Sesame Street. It's not popping up there. I don't know why. But let's do that. There we go. MLS or transaction number. You don't have to worry about that right now when you do this. All of obviously the asterisk ones are the ones that are required. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you make that bigger? There we go. All right, select status. It's going to be a listing. It's going to be active. If you're on the buyer side, obviously it's going to be pending. Active is not really even a one that you guys will be using, because it's not, if it's either a listing or you're already pending. So another thing I want to tell you, do not create a transaction for every offer you make. If you made an offer for somebody and it wasn't accepted, wait till they have one. If you're representing a buyer, wait till they have a contract and then you put it in here. Okay, so if you send out 15 offers for somebody, we shouldn't have 15 transactions. We do not name transactions after people. We name them after places. So name it after the address. That is how we refer to the thing. I will talk to you also about referrals on that too, because a lot of times you're referring a person, a buyer, as opposed to a listing. And if you're doing a person, you can put them down as a person to start with, but then later change it when you know where they're buying, change it to the location, please. And that is for referrals. Okay, so let's say that this is a buyer we have. Okay, it's pending. Label, residential property, this one is. So if I make it a residential property, it's going to have a residential property checklist. If I make it a sales referral, it's going to have a much shorter checklist, okay? Because all we need is a referral agreement and the HUD if you ever get it, and another document or two, okay? That is for a referral that you give. If you receive a referral, you just put that on the CDA where we're sending that other check, okay, CDA request, and make a note of it in commission notes, okay? So let's say it's a residential sale. The listing date, you don't know. The close date, we have one. It is going to be March 28th, okay? Earnest money date, these things, you can use these if you like. I like it when you use them, but we don't need them. We don't need you to. If you want to put the year built, great. We're going to put an MLS, a copy of the MLS sheet on here, either the data entry sheet. Well, you on this case, being the buyer representative, you'll just be an MLS printout that you're just going to print MLS here. Save it to PDF and upload it as one of the requirements. Seller name doesn't matter. Buyer name is SPE 13. Doesn't matter where you got it either. Okay. List price, sale price, total commission, fill all that stuff out. We appreciate that. Search by name. This is going to be Ryan, and it's going to give me all the Ryans, and then I'm the buying agent. Okay. And add a transaction. Now, if I'm going to pay, let's say we start a team of Ryans, and I'm going to pay everybody out of this deal, the Ryan team, and all I do is recruit Ryans. We're gonna put them all on here because when I go to pay them all, I'm gonna need them all on here. Okay, if I'm gonna pay them individually. So anybody that's getting paid on this deal, even if they're not helping, even if they're just, whatever, put them on here. All right. I do not have a team of Ryans. Okay, so this is what we're doing. This is our residential selling checklist. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a look at some of these others, but let's go through this. Buyer name and email address, not hard to do. Exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. Everybody needs this. Okay, so when it says exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, that can be, you can substitute for that a showing agreement. Okay, some of you guys have showing agreements. Do you guys know the difference in those? Give me a head nod if you know the difference and why we use them. Buyer brokerage agreement is for a person for a time, for a buyer for a length of time. A showing agreement is for a buyer for a property, a specific property or 5 properties. If somebody says, I'm really not comfortable signing up with you for the next 3 months, but I would like to see these 5 houses next weekend. Perfect. Write them down for those 5 houses. Okay. If we get a surprise and somebody wants to just write an offer on something, you take them to, well, let's say you have an open house, you host an open house and someone wants to make an offer on this. They do not have an agent, they wander in. It's perfectly legal to show them that without a showing agreement or a buyer brokerage agreement. They came into a listing, okay? You can write them an offer, but you need to put in there, that is when you definitely use a showing agreement, and you put that in there with their offer. As they're writing, when you send them the offer to sign, you put in the showing agreement for that particular location, okay? So you don't, unless they want you, they just love you and say, even if this doesn't work, I want you to show me properties for the next 90 days. That's fine too, but then use that one. But for this one, if they come into my listing at Oak Street and they want to buy it, when I write their offer to give to the seller, I'm also going to put in the showing agreement, okay, for Oak Street. All right. So it says exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. Just to answer your question before you guys ask it, it also includes the showing agreement. So if that takes care of it. Compensation agreement, that's what you get before you close, that says that whatever they say they're offering in compensation, that's what you get them to sign. That is your seller's broker to buyer's broker, or seller to buyer's broker agreement that says 2.5%, 3%, whatever it says. Okay. Do you need these if they buy a new house, from a new build? Yes, you do. You need all of this stuff. Okay. Some new builders won't give you the compensation agreement, but it's in their contract. It's a separate agreement in their contract. That's perfectly fine. Obviously the contract, the MLS printout. Now the MLS printout is going to tell us a couple of things also. It's going to tell us, because we can see it on the MLS, do we need an HOA or condo disclosure? It'll say, you know, where it says community on your MLS. If it says no community or no fee or whatever, we know you don't have that. We will erase that from this deal. We just delete it. You guys don't have the option to do that, but we delete it. If it was built after 1977, we're going to get rid of the lead-based paint. That's on there as well. And if it was not, if it says it's not, no special sales, it says special sale none, or even if it says real estate owned, or it says auction or something like that, I can get rid of the short sale addendum. Okay. So only if the short sale will we require that, but we put those on the checklist so we can get rid of them if we need to. But if it's not, if it's any of those things, lead-based paint or anything else, then we're going to need those. Now I can come in here and hold on a second. I can get rid of this checklist and put on a different checklist. Let's say that this was, oh, that's confusing. Let's say that this was a sales referral. All I need is a referral agreement and the settlement statement when it closes. Okay. Now I might have named this James Robinson or whoever I referred, right, at first, but then I'm going to go in and edit the transaction and change the name of it. And I can just change the name right here. Okay. And then save the transaction. All right. Let's look at some other checklists. Let's look at this is hard to read. Vacant land selling checklist. So I'm representing someone on a vacant land. Obviously they have a lot of the same things, but a lot of different things too. We still need to, if it's an HOA, we still need to have that. We still need to have the escrow, obviously pre-qual or proof of funds, listing short sale. Let's talk about buyer's escrow deposit. We always need that, assuming that there's an escrow, which there is 99.99% of the time there's an escrow. We're going to need that every time. Some of these other things, we cannot enforce them, and it's not on this checklist, but it is on a listing checklist. Get rid of these. On a listing checklist, we have seller's real property disclosure, and we have flood disclosure. We have to have one or the other of these, okay? The flood disclosure, the seller's property disclosure includes a flood disclosure on there. There is something to sign to say there. But any deal that does not have, if you have a seller that does not give property disclosure, and some sellers will not sign a property disclosure, that is fine. It's not a legal requirement, but if they do have it, we have to have it. If it's been signed, we have to have it. This is where lawsuits come from. It's from property disclosures. That's why a lot of attorneys will tell their sellers not to sign those. It does protect us though. We like them to have them. We as realtors, as real estate professionals, we like to have them sign a seller's property disclosure because that lets us off the hook of disclosing anything. And the only thing we get in trouble for disclosing, you know our rule, disclose, right? If it is of material value and is not obvious to the eye, then we must disclose it. Okay. So if we know about it, seller's property disclosure does all that for us. The only time we can get in trouble is if seller tells us something and we don't tell somebody else. And they say, well, I told my agent, right? That's what gets us in trouble. So if they put it on the seller's property disclosure, we have the buyer sign the seller's property disclosure. Obviously they read it, they saw it, they're responsible for it. So that's the only way we ever get in trouble. That is also why we like the MLS data entry form. As you see the next one down here. MLS printout is okay. We love to see the data entry form. That is where the seller signs off on what they're saying that the property is and what they're saying they're going to leave in the property when they leave. This is how you do not buy washers and dryers at the closing table. Have the seller sign this stuff. Okay. Have them sign what they are then representing what the property is, what they want on the internet. We all have had someone tell us to go list a house and they don't tell us anything about it. We've got to go figure out all the utilities and figure out if it has sewer or septic and all that stuff. You're much better off having the seller tell you all that stuff. Okay. Plus they know a lot more about their property, obviously. But we have a lot of the same stuff here. So if they don't sign the seller's property disclosure, then they better sign the flood disclosure. That is a new rule as of October of 2024. We need to have this on every file. If they don't have a seller's property, we have to have one of the other. So we will not pay you unless we have that. Okay. And there you go. That is that checklist. I'm going to show you New construction. This is nice and easy too. Because the new construction contracts are 58 to 98 pages and have everything in the world in them, we typically only need the new construction contract. Okay, but we definitely need it. So we need that, buyer name and email, obviously, and the buyer brokerage agreement is a new thing as of last year that we need on every deal. Okay, and a lot of times the builders, because they don't treat us very well, ask us to see our buyer brokerage agreement. And if they won't do a deal with you unless they see it, then show it to them. But I'm going to go over the main rule of buyer brokerage agreement real quick. If it says 3%, you can't take 3% plus $5,000 bonus. Okay, you're limited to whatever it says on there. You also cannot put a range on there, or 3% or more, or whatever. You can put 3%, and if they offer a $5,000 bonus, you're going to have to get your buyer to sign a modification to that buyer brokerage agreement that says 3% plus $5,000. Okay. You can modify the buyer brokerage agreement, but you cannot never take more than what's on it. And if you're offered more than what's on it, then get it modified. All right. You can always take less than what's on it, but you cannot always take more than what's on it. So we need those. And you guys, please be coming up with your questions and stuff for this too. I'm happy to share all this stuff with you. Trying to make this nice and easy for you guys. Do you guys know how to upload documents? Everybody knows how to upload docs. You just go here. So if I have this contract, I'm going to upload my documents. It's going to ask me for me to drag it or to go to my computer and pull my files. Okay. That, and then we are going to review your files. So they'll go into what you see here. You don't have an unreviewed here. I don't believe you do. But they go into unreviewed, and here's the stuff that you guys turned in this morning, and she's already working on these. So somebody just turned some stuff in just now, 35 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, etc. Okay. So you guys don't have that, but we have that, and we go through and review them all. So let's go back again. Lisa says, I'm trying to find this new construction contract. I don't know what you mean. The checklist, if you're talking about the checklist, it's on there. You just do it when you create a transaction. You just choose label new construction residential. Okay. As you can see on there, yes, you can do commercial. You can do anything like that. We have people that will help you with commercial. If you need commercial help, mentor, or refer it, we have people who do that as well. All right, let's go into the reference step. Do you guys have any questions on this before we leave? How to upload the documents, how to do all these things? Anybody? You can add a contact if you want to put a title company, all that stuff. Please do that if you're going to be doing the documents and stuff. Please do that. All right, I'm going to move on to the reference tab. So commercial forms, that's for commercial deals, contract forms. This is everything you'll need is on here. Most of these are not fillable. You get them, of course, from Transaction Desk or Form Simplicity, but if you ever need to see something, you can do that. If you want to send a wire fraud prevention notice, you get it here. There you go. You can do that. We don't require those. They're great to have. Nobody really does that until they've been burned by one. Lease forms, listing forms. These are all here for you as well. All those obviously are on Form Simplicity or Transaction Desk as well. Business card templates, name badge templates. Those are people that we have relationships with where you can go in and get your cards made, etc. Those are also on your welcome email when you join. There's links directly to the websites for those. Exclusive buyer brokerage agreements. All this, these are new forms. These are all fillable. So this exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, showing agreement, pre-touring agreement, that's also a thing, but as you see, it is not binding whatsoever. If you wish to work with broker to purchase a property, broker may ask you to sign a separate agreement detailing the party's responsibility during sale. There's lots of ifs and wishes and mays in here, and that is not a very binding document at all. This is what it says. If you choose to work with them, this is what they're going to charge you, meaning us, 3% or whatever, but it is not binding. So don't use that one. Use that one if they won't sign anything else to get you in the door. But then when you present the contract to them, then put the showing agreement on it with that address. Here's the modification to buyer brokerage or showing agreement. This is where I was just talking about. We're going to change. If we got offered a bonus from somebody, then we'll do the 3% plus 5,000. Here it is. Purchase at least 3% or whatever plus $5,000 for my bonus. Okay. So that's what we're going to do there. That's how we modified that agreement. And then they did, the consumer signs here and you sign. You're always an authorized associate. Even if it says broker initial or whatever, you're always an authorized associate. You can sign for the brokerage. Okay, those are all there. Those are the new ones. New form tutorials. I did these for you guys back in December. These are going to be videos with my beautiful face on them. You guys, that stuff. All right. Let's close that. Lots of music to that. But those are what those are. Let's do this. Commission disbursement request form. Okay, guys, when you have everything done, you think you're ready to close, you have all of your work done on this, right? You're going to have a commission disbursement request form. These are not to be sent. These are internal form. It even says it on it, internal use only. I don't know if you see that watermark on there. Internal use only. These are to send to us, and you don't send them, email them in, you upload them to your transaction. So this is a fillable PDF. I'm going to open it. You guys aren't going to be able to see it when I open it. Yeah, you are, because I can share it with you now. So this is a fillable PDF. Well, it went somewhere. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, never mind. It's not letting me share it, but oh, it is letting me share it. Here we go. All right. So we're going to go in here, and closing date was 3/28/25. Title company ABC Title. Closer name Mario J. Closer email mario@abctitle.com. Property address 123 Sesame. Seller name Jones. Buyer name Martinez. Agent name Ryan Langley. I was representing the buyer. Purchase price was $100,000. It's really cheap because I can do math on that. Gross commission is $3,000. Okay. Did I provide a real credit? No. Transaction fee was paid. Transaction fee paid by buyer or seller. I'm going to put in here my 175. They did pay it, and now you don't have to put buyer. You can put buyer if you want, but we know because we're going to scroll back up here and say, oh, he was representing the buyer. That's who paid it. 175. The 3,000 is my 100% commission made payable to Ryan Langley, and that's how we do it. Now, if somebody else helped me with this deal, and they're getting half, I get 1,500, and 1,500 goes to Melissa. All right, Melissa King. There you go. So that's how that works. Everybody got that? You upload that. Now I'm going to save that and upload it to download it with my changes. And I'm going to open this back up. We've got a lot of options here. A lot of options here. Hold on. Let me get back on here. Sorry, guys. Try to get back on here. So I'm going to upload that now to the proper transaction. So I'm going back into 123 Sesame Street, hit upload docs. and do that. So, all right, here we go. All right, so now I'm going to upload docs. You can't see this. Hold on. Let me go down. This is not the right document, but I'm not going. Actually, let me go here. Okay, hold on. There we go. There we go. Get rid of that one. And this is CDA. All right. I can hit reviewed. You guys can't hit reviewed, but I can hit reviewed. And then when I come down here, it's going to say this. Preview isn't ready yet. But anyway, it'll be the CDA that I just put, the CDA request I just did. So we're going to go in and make your CDA based on your CDA request and having everything checked off on your checklist. That is the only way we're going to do that. If you do not have everything checked off on your checklist, you're going to get one of these that says missing documents. You're going to get an email that says, good afternoon. Will you please upload all your missing documents? Go to get this closed out for you. So that is the email you're going to get if you try to submit a CDA request without all of your documents in. And that's going to remind you to go in and do it. Any questions on that? Hurricane mold damage remedied, which form to use? That's just a seller's property disclosure, Gigi. And there's modifications to it as well. There's a back page to it you guys may have seen before. Any other questions on any of this stuff before we go to commission dispute? Yes, Bonnie.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
So when we're filling out in Paperless pipeline itself, the transaction amounts, like it says the total sales amount, and is that the number? Are those the numbers that go by what we get paid on our 1099 at the end of the year, or how should those be filled out?
What numbers?
On Paperless pipeline itself, not any uploads or anything.
No, I'm glad you asked that question.
Sections for the amounts that we get paid, and summaries, and
those are not always accurate. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
That is, so we want you guys to have, that's such a great question because of this. We want you guys to have access to things. Let me go back to 123 Sesame. I'll with you guys. All right, so wait for it to pop up. There we go. All right, so 123 Sesame. Guys, you guys are going in, and when it closes, we'll already have, so we have different statuses. Okay, here's pending. Once we submit a CDA for you guys to the title company, we'll click submitted CDA. Okay, and we'll change this transaction. A lot of you guys are going in, as soon as it closes, you go in thinking you're doing the right thing and you mark it closed. And when you mark it closed, that messes up, or we'll already have it marked dispersed. If you guys see submitted to bookkeeping, okay, so different things. I'll go ahead and tell you guys what these are so you understand. And we could cut you off where you can't ever do these, but we want you to be able to change that sometimes from pending to fell through, stuff like that. Okay, so active is not really, you can use listed or active if you have a listing. But if you're on the buyer side, obviously it's going to be pending or you wouldn't have started this. So you have a pending is where you're going to start. When you get close to closing, we're going to do submitted CDA. Okay. Once we submit a CDA for you, we're going to submit CDA. If you are doing, the only time you'll do a commission credit letter, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, is something you'll ask for from our sales admin. You'll ask him or her to write you a letter, and that letter will say Florida Realty Investments contribute this commission. This is if you want to give the buyer a credit or the seller a credit. I do this for friends and family and stuff, and give them the commission back and just keep enough to pay our fee here. That's what I use to do that. Okay. And that letter just says that FRI can contribute this commission in this deal to its buyer, James Robinson, in the amount of whatever the commission is. Please, send the other $350 or whatever to FRI. Okay. With our address and everything. That goes to the title company. The title company, that is when they credit them on the HUD. So that's how that works. That way the buyer has to bring less money to closing, and it will not go down as, income to them. It'll only be on the basis of the house. And ask your tax professional for anything further on that, but that's how that works. Okay, you'll see other statuses. When we get a check, when somebody won't do a CBA, or a title company, or a new builder, a lot of times they won't do a commission. CDA stands for commission disbursement authorization. They won't honor those, as you guys have all had that before. Maybe 10% of your closings won't do them, or you guys forget to do them before your closing and they're not ready, or whatever. Or maybe you don't have all your paperwork in. They will send us a check for $11,000, let's say. Okay, so we will submit this to bookkeeping when we get it, regardless of whether or not your paperwork is in. We won't give it to you until your paperwork is in. But even if all your paperwork isn't in, we'll do that. And that's when we'll send you missing documents that we want to pay you, but we can't until you get your documents in. Once that is back from them and you don't have your paperwork, it'll say check ready pending paperwork, or we'll mark it dispersed, and we will send you an email asking you if you want to pick it up or want it mailed or what. Okay, so your check is ready, and do you want it picked up or mailed? Don't go in and mark stuff closed, because what happens a lot of times, to answer Bonnie's question, we'll mark something dispersed. Dispersed means we're done with it. Just like when you get an email from the title company said everything's been dispersed, your deal's officially closed, all dispersed. If we've already marked it, you guys don't mark it dispersed, and don't mark it anything once it's done. We only want you to be able to start it here and mark it fell through if it falls through, or expired if it expires. Okay, that's what we want you guys to be able to do. Please don't do any of the other stuff. That just confuses things, and it makes us untrustworthy for numbers, which is why we do yours out of QuickBooks. So we record everything in QuickBooks, everything you guys sell, everything, what your commission was, etc., and obviously what our part of that, our transaction fee is. We mark all that. So please, you have this ability to do this, but don't. Yes, Bonnie.
Hi. So, thank you for that. But I was also talking about when you're like adding the transaction and you get down near the bottom and it says, sale
Like this
price.
part.
Yeah.
This is not reliable at all, as you know, because
Okay.
sales prices
Right.
change. And
because I never know, like, that final sales price, is that supposed to be the actual sales price or the amount of money coming to me, or
no, it's supposed to be the sales price.
Okay.
It's supposed to be, 585,000 or whatever it is. And, and
Okay.
like list price could be
So like right here,
530,
total
sale price.
commission. Mhm.
Yeah, it can be like this. Oops.
So would the total commission be the 3%, or would it be the 3% minus the 175?
No, total commission is total commission. You guys are supposed to charge the client the transaction fee. If you don't have to, but you're supposed to. So yeah, we don't put that on here. Now you might want to say, 50 split with Bonnie Black. Okay.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll make that note for them. But when I do my CDA request, it's going to do that. It's going to say that.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if this isn't exactly correct in the end. Okay.
Right. But what I need to do here is, like I told you guys earlier, is I need to add Bonnie to this, because, you can start a Bonnie team too. I need to add Bonnie to this because I want to get her paid.
Okay. Okay. And one last question.
Yes.
Oh shoot, it just escaped me. Never mind.
Okay, so when we do your CDA, when we finish your CDA, we're going to send it to, a lot of times on this title company, there are, when you guys put in the title company on that, like the CDA request, or if you put it in here like you're supposed to, and you make a a typo. Maybe instead of Mario, it was Maria, and I hit the wrong letter, right?
Mhm.
I'm also going to, when I do this, I'm going to send it to the agents as well. So I'm going to send this to Bonnie and Ryan
Okay.
as well, because, and you guys can make sure the title company got it. And if they didn't, then you can say, because you definitely have them on your email. So you can just forward it to them and say, at a good practice, you ought to just forward it to them anyway and say, hey, just see if you guys have any questions on this, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. And if the other agent is outside of Fry, then it just goes on the CDA, correct?
Right.
You just showed us. Okay, perfect.
Right. Yeah. So if the other agent, you never send them the CDA, obviously, and they won't be on here. They're not set up with us, so they won't be on here. So that's that. So then I send the executed disbursement authorization, which I didn't do one from the company. But that's the one I'll send is when I create one. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? I know some of you guys are newer with us. Do you have any other questions? There we go. How many days to submit CDA prior to closing? You can do it whenever you want. I mean, I wouldn't do it a month ahead of time. Anytime after you have your paperwork in. I mean, you can do it before all your paperwork's in, but that just makes it confusing for everybody. We're not going to execute it. And also doing it a month ahead of time, things change so much. It can just be muddier. I would wait like maybe a week. I mean, it only takes us a day typically. What will the back office do after we submit the CDA? We'll wait for us to get, so we're not going to do anything. So this happened to some of you guys, and I explained this to you when your 1099s went out. You might have closed something on December 28th, and you might have even had a CDA, and you get CDA, and you got paid right there at closing. You got your $15,300, okay? And they mailed us our 175 or 350 or 399 or whatever we were getting. If that was the case, that was going to go on your 2025 1099 because we didn't get our money. We didn't process. We weren't sure it closed. We don't know any of that stuff. We are a cash basis accounting. So that's on your 2025 taxes. If you want to claim it for 2024, you could. Your 1099 doesn't mean anything. Okay. That shows you what we're sending to the IRS. There can be differences to that. You're going to write stuff off anyway. You're going to do all that stuff. If you add to it, certainly they're not going to mind. And next year, what you would do is subtract from your 2025 one, but you're just as well off just waiting for your not paying the $3,000 or whatever you're going to owe on that 15,000 until April of 2026. That's actually a good thing, right? To not have to pay taxes on it yet. But if you want to, you can. If you don't want, but just make sure you write it off next year, or you don't put it on there next year, and they'll know. So you'll explain that was on last year's taxes. So. And they'll do the math and see that if they're paying attention. I think it's pretty random, but I'm not a tax professional. Do whatever your accountant tells you, but it will certainly be on your next year one, because if we got the money on January 3rd, you got paid on December 28th, we're putting it on January 3rd. We can't go backwards. It's a cash basis accounting. Okay. Any other questions on those things? So please don't mark stuff closed. We know it's closed when we get the money. And sometimes it's not closed because sometimes some of these checks get lost in the mail and we don't get them for 6 months or we don't get them until we notice. So what we do is we go back through our submitted CDAs. If there have been submitted CDAs for a long time, sometimes you guys know we've reached out to you before and say, hey, we submitted a CDA in this deal. And then you'll be like, oh, it fell apart at the last minute. I forgot to put that in the computer. And so we go ahead and mark it off. And then other times you're like, yeah, that closed. And so we have to contact the title company. This happens quite a bit, guys. You guys know how often mail gets lost. We have to contact the title company and say, hey, what happened to this check? And they're like, well, I don't know. Nobody ever cashed it. Okay, great. Please reissue. All right, question. I have a question about business cards. I prefer to order magnetic cards on the preferred site from the welcome email. I bet they probably have them. You can get those anywhere, and you can steal the artwork if you want. I have, you guys got a logo with your welcome email. I am happy to send you. We also have vector logos. If you guys ever go anywhere and they tell you that logo is not, it's too pixelated or something, if they do what they want to do, it's not high enough resolution is actually the word. We have a vector logo, which is higher resolution, which is usually used for websites and stuff like that. So if you guys need that, absolutely. Melissa, to answer your question, I think you can just go to any business card thing with that design, and they'll do it for you. I bet though that company makes magnetic business cards. Is back office share CDA to title company prior to the closing? Yeah, that's what we do. We don't share the CDA request that you put in. We make our own CDA. You guys have seen these before, I'm sure. Let me look at something on here. I can pick something that is, let's search by status. Submit CDA. All right. So we submitted a CDA. Ours look like this. Once we create them, they look like this. Okay. This is what ours look like. They're signed by the broker. All right. You get these every time that you submit one. We send you a copy of this. We should be. So you should get this on an email from us that starts with executed disbursement authorization. And you'll see that. Like we sent this in yesterday. We should be able to look at this. Well, anyway, we sent this in yesterday with that. Okay. We sent in a corrected one, actually. So there we go. So that's how CDAs work. Question, who's the transaction coordinator with FRI in case I need one? We do not have a transaction coordinator on staff, but we have several that we work with that we can recommend to you. Some are better than others, and that's great. So I don't know if Christine's on here. She's one of them. And there are some others, but we can give you that information. It may be on our vendor list. If it's not, we should add it, but we can give you that information ones we work with that do a good job. Any other questions or comments? And Gigi wants to do that. Guys, get on your Facebook page. You who have not yet, get on our Facebook page for our agents Facebook group. It's a group page called FRI Agents. There's an old page. It was just a page. You have to get accepted to the group. So get on there and request to join, and we will approve you. Barbara, if you're trying to talk, you're muted, Barbara.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so the commission disbursement request form, I was having trouble getting that to open up in Chrome. So I closed the Chrome and I opened it up in Bing, and it worked.
Okay. I haven't had that. Nobody said that before. That's interesting. And I'm using Chrome right now and it works. So I don't know why. I wonder what that is.
Maybe I just need to clear the browser on my side.
Yeah, maybe the cache or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's the case. But thank you for sharing that. Maybe somebody else can avoid that situation.
You're welcome.
And congrats on the CDA request. Juan.
Hey guys, Ryan, if we want to do a deal, but not as a real estate agent, I'm buying an investment property. You normally have my own contract, like a 2-pager, but the seller wants to use the Florida contract for land. Can I go ahead and use the one that I usually use when I list it, or when I act as a real estate agent, or should I just?
Okay, so here's the deal, guys. This is a great question. I want you guys to know when we need to know when you're acting as an agent and when you're acting as a person. Okay, a person, not a consumer. If it is on MLS, we are going to be audited for it. Okay, so we need paperwork for it. And yes, you're going to have to pay a fee. If it is not on MLS, and you're just buying it or whatever, like you're buying your house from your landlord or you're doing whatever, we don't care. We don't need to know if you're just doing that. Okay.
But can I use your form? You know, the form Simplicity when I download it?
Yeah, you can use those. Yeah,
do I need to delete anything that says Florida Realty? Doesn't matter, or?
Doesn't. I don't care if it's not on MLS. I don't care.
Okay.
Nobody's looking at the forms. Nobody's going through, forms somewhere, the title company, and doing that. No. Only if it's on MLS, then we're going to need. We're recorded as the buyer, as representing the buyer. We're going to need something, even if you don't pay your commission, you don't take a commission, whatever. We still need it, and we do need a fee for that. But because we're responsible for it. If you're buying something off the record, if you're buying a FSBO on your own, we don't need to know about it. We don't care. Okay.
Got it.
I hope that answers questions for any of you out there. And yes, those of you who ask, hey, if I buy I do my own portfolio and I'm buying investment properties for myself, do I still need to pay a fee? Yes, I'm sorry, you do. We can't work for free. I have probably 150 agents who only do their own transactions for themselves, and we can't just work for those people for free forever. And I apologize, but it's a pretty small fee. There you go. Any other questions? Cool. Real estate supply store. I've heard of that before. That is good. Thank you, Daryl. Any other questions? We're going to get into escrow disputes real quick. I want to talk to you guys because this has been a thing lately. Buyers and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and it keeps popping up. And then I had something today. Let me talk first about the one that I had today. We had a seller, and someone has asked a similar question to this before, and I'm not sure if it was on the forum here, but we had a seller doing I believe an open house, and the wife had come and looked at the house before with a different agent than they came to the open house with not too long ago. And then when they came to the open house, they decided to write an offer with a new agent. We don't know. Our agent does not know. She recognized the wife. Being with a different agent, she did not know what to do with the new agent and the old agent, as far as determining what should she tell them, should she get involved, what should she do. She doesn't want to be in the middle of an escrow dispute with two agents sharing the same client, etc. I advised her to let the new agent know that those people had been there to see the house before, and just in case they still have a signed agreement with the previous agent, buyer brokerage agreement, or a showing agreement, because it's the same house. So just to let them know that there may be an issue there. It is better to get that up front. We don't know for sure. It's none of our business, really. We don't have any legal obligation to do that. Just likely that more likely chance that the deal could fall apart if these two agents start squabbling over commission, and they both tell the buyer they owe them money at the last minute. Let's get that out of the way right now and get it figured out. In the old days, it would be a very simple case of procuring cause, where the new agent should get the commission. The older agent might have shown them the house first, but they did not get them to write the contract. They did not compel them to buy the house. They were not the cause of the sale. They just showed it. So procuring cause says you show it and you're the procuring cause of the sale, which means, so if Juan, back in the old days, if Juan shows a house to Natalie, and Natalie says, that was nice, but I don't want it. And then I show the house to Natalie and her husband, and they say, oh my gosh, this house is great. You know what? I think we could actually use this house. She told Juan it wasn't worth, $600,000, and so she'd offer maybe $550, and Juan said, okay, well, we'll make an offer for $550, and it wasn't responded to. Maybe they didn't want it. Okay. They came back at $590, and Natalie said no. But I show it to her, and she says, you know what? Let's offer him $580 and see what we can do. And from there, we come up with a deal. Sorry, Juan, it's my deal. That's procuring costs. Okay. Even though you showed it first and you wrote a contract, but the contract wasn't good, you couldn't get Natalie to come off her pocketbook enough to buy the house. But now, or maybe she offered the same thing, and now the seller's just more desperate. Regardless, I took her there at the right time and she bought the house. So that's old procuring cause, and I would get the commission. Nowadays, if Juan she was still under buyer brokerage agreement with Juan, and she went with me, she owes us both the commission. So good luck, Natalie. You should have terminated with Juan first, which you can do. And you should have done that. And I should have made sure that you did. I should have asked you, do you have something signed with somebody? If you said no, you just lied to me, whatever. Or you just didn't know or whatever. But Natalie's a grown-up. Natalie's over 18, and she signed a legal document, and she's responsible for it, what is in it. Okay. So that's how it works now. So if the seller saw Natalie come twice, 2 contracts with Natalie on it, the listing agent, should she tell me that Natalie already worked on this house with Juan before? I think she should. So now I'll talk to Natalie and say, hey, did you see this house with somebody else before? And you say, oh, yeah, Juan showed it to me. Okay. So let's, I might talk to, would you sign with Juan? Let me get a copy of that. and oh, I don't have a copy, I lost it, whatever, right? So I'm probably going to contact Juan at that point because I don't want to fight with Juan later. Okay. So we've had that situation a couple of times. So this is the first time we've been on the seller side of it. We've had it on the buyer side where our agent found out later that Juan had already showed the client this house and they're already under contract. What should I do? So yeah, it's a sticky situation. But it's also up to Juan, if he's still under contract with him, to follow up and see, hey, Natalie, if he's a good agent, he's going to be following up with you and saying, what's going on? You guys ready to look at some more houses? I'm still sending you houses. I'm still, whatever. And you say, oh, I just went under contract on something. Then there's a problem, right? So that has been something that popped up a few times since this new buyer brokerage agreement has come into effect. But it was always a thing, right? It was always, are you guys working with somebody when they come into your open house, or when you start talking to them? Have you worked with any other agents? Oh yeah, somebody showed us some housing. Well, did you sign back? You used to ask, did you sign anything with them? Nowadays, they signed something with them. So, let me see what you signed with them. If it was just a showing agreement or pre-touring agreement, and we're showing them something different, then it doesn't matter. All right. Escrow disputes we've talked about very recently. I think last week or the week before, we talked about interpleters, when title companies file interpleters, and the benefit of getting them to agree to something before it goes to interpleader, because that's just a mess and you're fighting over a lot less money. We did have a couple of disputes this week. One of our agents I saw in here that was involved in one of them, and they did settle it. So it's not going anywhere. But in her case, she had the listing. The buyers she was told the buyers changed their mind after loan approval, but it was at the end of the loan approval period, 20 something days in, they had loan approval, but they changed their mind. Well, the lender says, yeah, they had loan approval with conditions and they decided not to meet those conditions. So what is that? That's murky. I think it's the seller was still right, because all loan approvals have conditions. I mean, you can always, some of their conditions are you can't change your job in the last, before this thing closes, you can't quit, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? It's all loan, you have to be alive when it closes. It's all very basic things. So that is something that they settled. Her seller settled and took, I assume half of the deposit or something like that. So, but the buyer did submit a release and cancellation with the money coming back to them, and they did not agree. The seller could have fought this and still put the property back on the market once they cancel. Okay, to answer that question that I get a lot. And we did talk about it last week or the week before. All right, any other questions about that? Any other questions about escrow disputes, paperless pipeline, the market, anything we talked about today, or anything else in the world? All right. You guys have been outstanding. If you guys have any questions or anything, that's good. Insurance rates are coming. I don't know if you guys have noticed there, if you've heard, they are stopping rising anyway. There's new players in the market. I talked to Dan. Dan is going to come on with us next week and talk about the new players in the market and what's happening with insurance rates, which is good news for us. If we could get interest rates and insurance rates to drop, we'll be back in business. Any other questions or comments? All right, guys. Thank you very much. We will see you next week, and have a great week. You're doing great. Numbers are picking up. I'm glad to see you guys doing well.